I think I was replacing all the sports time. Me and my buddies, when we used to be playing sports, now we're in bars, drinking beer, watching sports. That's how we kind of traded in our sports time. And it's a really slippery slope to, it's so easy not to work out at all, not to have any ambition to do that. And then it's if you're not chasing something, I think that it's just there's no need for that.
That is Kevin Calibber this week on the Do It For Yourself podcast. Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the first interview episode of 2019, or welcome to the first episode of 2019. If you guys had missed it, the first quote-unquote episode of 2019 was actually an interview of myself. I sat down with one of my best friends, Jimmy, and he flipped it and interviewed me for the Do It For Yourself podcast so that we could go through my story. So that was the first episode that we launched this month, this new year, and here we are with my first sit-down interview for 2019, and I am looking forward to bringing you this conversation with Kevin Calibber. And Kevin is an actor and a model who is living out in LA right now, and we get a chance to discuss his fitness journey, because if you look him up on Instagram, you find him online, you may see him in a fitness ad somewhere. That is not the way that Kevin has always looked, and Kevin has not always had the same outlook on his fitness as he does today. And so we get a chance to dive into his story and talk about the specifics, and talk about his accident and, where that led him and why he got to the size that he got to, and kind of how he got himself back on track, and how he really looks at his diet and balances things out and, lives a lifestyle that kind of fits with everything that he is trying to do. And so he doesn't let his diet go too far one way or the other. And he really tries to maintain a nice balance. And so, we get a chance to talk about that. And obviously, like I said, we get a chance to go into his story and, how he was in the military and he had some injuries that were preventing him from continuing on. So I don't want to give away too much of Kevin's story because this was a great chat that we had. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Kevin Calibber. All right, man, you ready to get going?
I am.
Sweet. So Kevin, thank you so much for jumping on the Do It For Yourself podcast with me this evening and afternoon where you are. I noticed when we were chatting beforehand, you were, in a t-shirt, and I know you said you're out in the Los Angeles area. So I must say that every time I talk to a guest that is located pretty much anywhere aside from where I am on the East Coast, I need to express my jealousy, because I'm sure you noticed I have a winter hat on and I am fully bundled up because it's freezing here on the East Coast where I am.
Yeah, I did notice that, and I am very lucky that it is a very chilly day of about 72 degrees today here in Los Angeles.
Man, I really feel for you there. I really feel for you, because I think it was a balmy 25 when I woke up this morning. So
Okay, yeah, I will be in your part of the country for the holidays, so I am looking forward to it. I actually do get a little excited whenever it comes to the snow and the chilly weather, because it's something out here we have almost the absence of weather, so you come to, you get used to it, but you also become numb to it, that no seasons, or it kind of takes something away from it.
Yeah, I actually I have family that lives out in California as well, and my cousin just posted a picture of his son sitting in front of a Christmas display in his bathing suit. So I was like, man, that's got to be pretty interesting, you know?
Yeah, definitely a little different. I grew up in Missouri where we get hit by all the seasons very hard, and the weather is relentless there. So out here we are definitely spoiled, and I've gotten really used to it. I've become a big baby that if it drops down below 65, I complain of it being cold. Like I actually use the word cold to describe 65-degree weather. Where back in a nice spring day in Missouri, if it hits 65, we're all in our t-shirts and shorts and run around outside like it's 100.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You went from like polar opposite ends of the spectrum there from, a winter in Missouri to a winter in LA. It's like I mean, like you said, it's just non-existent.
Yeah, I think that we have this slogan out here that we don't notice the weather unless you hit at least 5 days of weather. And by that, I mean, it'll rain one day like twice a year and you don't think anything of it. Like, oh, it rained. Well, that's weird. And it's not until there's actually 5 days where you're like, oh my gosh, it's raining. Like, outside of that, it's just, because it's sunny and 70 every single day. Same thing whenever it's hot, it's always kind of warmer in the sun. It's hot. Like it was hot today in the sun. Then you step in the shade and it's a lot cooler. But until it's over 100 5 days in a row, you never even notice. Like, yeah, it's a little hot out. I don't know. Don't even think about it.
Now, you said you're headed back this way for the holidays. Do you have family that's over on the East Coast, or do you have family that's still in Missouri?
My family is still in Missouri, but I'm heading to the East Coast. I'm going to spend my Christmas in Pennsylvania with my girlfriend. She's from Pennsylvania in the Lehigh Valley. So we'll do Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and then make a day trip up to New York City as well, which I really look forward to because speaking of not feeling the seasons or 70 or people in swimsuits in front of Christmas displays. That is how it is in LA. They could try and decorate as much as they want, and the lights are pretty, and there's really cool things that this town does, but it just doesn't quite feel like Christmas. So I'm really excited to go to New York City for Christmas time because I've been in New York City, I believe 4 times before, but always in the spring and summer. So it's exciting that I'm going to be there during the holidays, really get to feel it.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like New York City when it is fully decorated for Christmas, and I'm sure it's on your list, but you definitely got to go see the huge tree over at Rockefeller where the skating center is and everything. That is definitely a can't miss. But even just everything that's decorated around there, it's absolutely amazing this time of year. I'm actually getting ready to head up that way this Friday. I'll be going up there to New York City. But that's funny that your girlfriend's from the Lehigh Valley area. I was actually just up in Bucks County this afternoon, so you're going to be like literally right in my backyard when you come over for the holidays.
Yeah, very cool. I got to spend there last Christmas, and we went up during the summertime. We did go up. We flew into Philly, then went down to Maryland and Delaware, and I really like it. Really, really enjoyed the East Coast. Coming from the Midwest, my father was from the West Coast, so we explored a lot, but a lot of it was through the Midwest, and of course, we all go down to Florida for vacation, and so mostly the Midwest and the South is what I was used to. So it's good to be able to explore the East Coast a little bit more. I really appreciate the history. It's just a whole different world out there, especially compared to the West Coast.
Yeah, it definitely is. I agree. And so, for the people who are listening, can you just tell me a little bit about what you're up to right now, especially living in LA? Because as I said, in our kind of pre-show chat, I don't know too many people who have the ability to schedule a Skype interview for what is, almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon your time. So, what are you up to out on the West Coast right now?
Well, I do work in entertainment, and that is just the most erratic schedule that you could have. It's very consistently inconsistent. So with that, I do a lot of work in front of the camera as well as behind the camera in the industry. And a day like today was literally get up, went to one meeting, went to the gym, have a few hours off, and then I go to the Netflix headquarters tonight for a big event. because it's all about that networking and doing those events and making them contacts. So that's what my day today is, and it's pretty regular for me. It's I usually film a couple projects a month, whether it be commercials or print or film or television, and then the rest of it just goes into staying in shape. I am a fitness model as well, and by that it pretty much means that I get a few jobs a year in the fitness related industry. I'm not a trainer or anything like that. So I have to stay in shape. So the gym is a big part of my day every single day, no matter what. And the rest of it is keeping busy, trying to stay busy in a positive way.
And so can you disclose any of the brands that you are working with either in the fitness industry or elsewhere?
Yeah, over the past couple years, I've gotten to work with. I was up in the windows at the GNCs. I got to shoot with them a couple times. I've done a bunch of workout videos for the Daily Burn as well as for Beachbody.com, and just a whole bunch of the smaller brands. A lot of the branding on boxes, you'll see me on some resistance bands and things like that. And as far as the film and television, it goes a little differently. I'm very fortunate to have a couple TV shows that I have small parts in them, but they're recurring characters. One of them is Future Man on Hulu. It's a Seth Rogen produced sci-fi action comedy that's pretty crazy stuff. Season 2 drops next month, and it's great time to do that. And in that one, I don't know if I got it because of the way I looked, but every time they thought it was funny to make me have my shirt open, or shirtless volleyball and everything like that. So whenever I say fitness modeling is a part of it, even though those were acting roles, obviously I'm aware that I get it because of the way that I look. So that's one thing that makes it hard, is that you don't know that you're going to be shirtless sometimes until the day before. So you always got to stay in pretty tip-top shape, while it's impossible to be in full shape all the time. Or we're all human, and we like to get our cheat meals in, and you still have to be able to enjoy life. And I can never say no to everything, because I do have a sweet tooth. I do enjoy the other things, but you always got to be there. So all of a sudden you get on a show like Future Man, they're like, all right, you're gonna be shirtless today. All right, you know what, go ahead, take your shirt off here. Whew, I better feel confident here. Otherwise, it would not be a fun thing, knowing that you're going to be doing this on national television.
Well, and especially at this time of year, from basically Thanksgiving to Christmas, it's just an all-out feast. So I'm sure you really have to time your cheat meals and everything, around, what you're doing. And then you throw travel on top of that. I mean, when you're trying to stay in shape, sometimes travel is just like your worst enemy, especially just based off of food choices. And, then you get to wherever you're going. Are you going to have access to a gym? Are you going to have access to the equipment that you're used to having access to? Like, I'm sure that's a challenge just in and of itself.
Absolutely. I always have to, because I do have to travel with work for quite a bit. I go down and I shoot another TV show, a Tyler Perry TV show, The Haves and the Have-Nots. I shoot that down in Atlanta. I go work out of Las Vegas quite a bit. And you never know what you're going to have. So I kind of have the ideal is, of course, having the full gym. You're like, well, as long as I have at least this. But then sometimes you don't even have that, and it's okay, what can I do right here in my hotel room in this 6x6 square? So now you're like, all right, I guess I'm just doing body weight exercises. And that could really throw you, because if you're not used to doing that, and then it's impossible to do back day whenever you don't have any, unless you have a pull-up bar, you're not doing that. You're just doing push-ups and squats and variations of that. And it really does. It gets hard. And like you say, around the holidays, it really is. It's a snowball thing. So you really got to pick and choose your battles. I was out with somebody just last week, and it was their birthday, and I'm like, oh, hey, no, I'm sorry, I can't, no, you go ahead, you have the wings, you have this. And I was like, I'm okay, doing this. I was like, I did my meal prep, I ate right before I came. And they're like, what are you talking about? I was like, oh, I got to eat clean during December. And they look at me, they're like, the whole month of December? I was like, oh, no, I'm aware that I'm going on Christmas break for 10 days. And I know that I'm going to fall off the wagon then. So I have no excuse on December 5th. This is a day that I could actually control. Once I'm gone, a lot of that is out of my hands. And you just got to let it go. Because I love Christmas cookies as much as anybody. And And I know that I earned it. Same thing with Thanksgiving. I went ahead and I fasted up until the big meal, and got in a light workout in the morning. So I knew I was in a good spot to be able to do that. So I'm not going totally overboard, because I can honestly sit there and eat about a 5,000 calorie meal because of the working out and my history of just needing a larger intake. I could easily go overboard. I'm
Yeah.
definitely the guy that could eat a full pizza by himself and then go look. I find myself in the pantry 10 minutes later, like I don't know why. There's like this hole that just could never quite be filled.
Well, and so let's tie that together a little bit, because you haven't always been that way, and you haven't always been, concerned about your food and meal prepping and everything. And there was a point where you were weighing in, anywhere between 220 and 230. So, before you got to this point, and kind of, back in the days of your early 20s, what were you up to at that point in time?
So I come from a very athletic family. We all played all the sports. My dad pretty much signed me up for everything. And whenever you're that active, obviously growing up, it's different. You don't have to accumulate for these things. And growing up from Missouri, like no offense to my parents, I don't think that they had quite the right answers. I don't think we necessarily had the right stuff in the house. I was the middle of five kids, so a lot of it we were just eating for convenience. My parents would go to Sam's or Costco and just buy the biggest boxes of Hot Pockets and mac and cheese. And I remember eating cereal for dinner more times than I'm proud of. So I'm absolutely getting no balance there, no protein sources. And it's tough. So we also would eat as a family. We did a lot of fast food, obviously, out of convenience and price. And then so always being active, it didn't quite matter. I mean, I was maybe the bigger kid, not too bad. I was always, like I said, athletic, so I was always kind of able to mask that a bit. And then I was in a car accident, and I actually shattered my knee in a car accident. And this was coming off of playing three sports, playing sports year round, and every day in the summer we would be out there playing baseball or basketball, and literally going from every day to pretty much zero. Shattered knee, required surgery, put me on crutches for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that. A knee immobilizer for another 4 months. And the weight just started compounding on top of me. I would still kind of lift weights. I still, I had the weight set in the basement, so I'd still kind of do that, but with zero cardio, not even being able to walk. It's the weight just kept going on me. I was drinking a lot of soda at the time. I would drink Mountain Dews two at a time, because I had this big mug that I would put two Mountain Dews in. It's ridiculous to think about that. I'm not sure if I was drinking 10 a day. I don't know. I was drinking it because I didn't drink water, and we're always thirsty. And and the weight just kept going on and on and on. And I went from whenever I was normally weighing in about 170 to 180. Next thing you know, I'm 230, and it's having trouble moving. Then they tell me that I can start doing rehab and this, and the weight just keeps going on, because, like I said, it's a snowball effect. And once it starts going, and still nobody told me any different. I still ate the exact same. I could still just sit on the couch and eat whatever I wanted. I could eat a box of cereal in one serving. I could do this stuff, and without the activity, it's just without making the adjustments. And I was still a young man too.
Yeah, I was gonna
And
say
then,
you were like 15 at the time of the accident and everything,
yeah,
right?
the initial accident, yeah, I was 15, and it was like training for football. So you can imagine the appetite and what I was used to eating on a daily basis. And for a lot of people, it's once they go to college, or once they, you kind of see that transition, stop going to recess, which is for a lot of people is the only activity that they get. And then you have gym class. And once you don't have to go to gym class anymore, what motivates you? I mean, I know people that literally go years without any form of exercise whatsoever, and it's tough. So you have to make that adjustment. And for me, it just happened at a way earlier age, with just still wanting to play with my friends, and then starting to hit that age where we all start getting cars and all we do is go hang out at the local fast food places because that's what you do at that age. And not now you don't have to go home for dinner anymore and it's up to you. So we would, eat dinner out of, convenience stores, just buying, rolls of donuts or something and call it dinner. And I went through that, and then a couple years later, I had an incident where I actually re-broke the wires that was holding my knee together. I re-broke that and tore my patella tendon all in one. So that was a very, very, very major knee injury, and went from that to an absolute rebuild on that. And then now you're just talking about being laid up for another year. And it seems that the longer the weight is on you, of course, the harder it is to lose. And just as I was starting to get back to where I was moving again, next thing you know, it's just you're right back where you started, and if not even worse, because it's.
How old were you when you re-injured your knee like really bad this time? Like how much time had passed since the initial injury and then this second injury?
It was about a year later. I think I was 17 then, and it was that one was the crippling one. That was the one where the weight, like I said, just really went. I couldn't tell you where I was from the first one because I'm also growing at the time. Because initially I was 5'8" or something like that, and then by this time I was getting closer to 6 foot, and it was, being up at, like I said, over 230. I think 232 was about the highest that I ever saw it. And then the doctor gave me that news of, hey, you could resume activity. And it was like a puppy being released out of a cage that's been, it's that, because to go from just playing sport, I mean, I was told I could never play football again. I could never play basketball again because I can't cut side to side anymore. But I could run straight. I could lift weights as long as it's not lateral movements. And I remember I signed up for bodybuilding my senior year of high school. I had to get a waiver saying that I couldn't do squats. I remember I had to get a doctor's note for that. No squats for me. And then just between that year, I dropped what ended up being about 70 pounds is what I put down. It was almost that I don't want to say it fell off of me because that's just not quite what happened, but it was a lot of adjustments too. You start getting older. I remember taking nutritional classes in high school and they started breaking things down. I remember being a young tyke and I said, I'm not drinking soda anymore. And what? You know what? What do you mean you're not drinking soda anymore? Like it's what we drink. We drink Mountain Dew around here. And I made that choice and it felt like I dropped, 10 pounds, immediately fell off. And then I remember like actually ordering a salad once. The guy next to me was like, what are you doing? What are you getting a salad? I'm like, I was just trying to lose some weight. And that's, you kind of this weird stuff that seemed like such a foreign concept to most people. And got back down to about down to 160. I think it was 164 or something like that. It was about as low as it got, and it just I felt the way that I felt was just so much better, and it's just an amazing feeling to get there. And my initial goal was to be able to play college sports. That was the original plan. And with obviously, if I can't play the sports, I'm not going to get a scholarship. I'm not going to be able to play college sports. So that's whenever I decided to join the military. And in the military, I went ahead and signed up for the Marine Corps. And it was going well for quite a bit. In that they want you to be a little heavier. They prefer you to be a little heavier just so you could carry more stuff. And of course, if you get stranded out there, they don't want anybody below 10% body fat. It's kind of they want bigger guys so that if you are out in the field, you could survive for a couple weeks if need be, just running off of your own body fat. Where you see these people that are all lean and chiseled, they're hungry constantly because they hardly eat anything and they've got no body fat. There's no gas tank to run off of. It's like they're running on empty all the time. So it's like, you got to constantly feed them. Otherwise, they're just going to lay down and fall asleep. Because I've been there.
No.
And so in the military is.
Before we get into the military, I did want to ask you something about like those little things that you started to implement, like not drinking soda, ordering a salad when you were, going out, and then also just around your initial weight loss. Where did you find these tips, like these little changes to start making? Like, was this in your nutrition classes that you were taking, or were you reading things online? Like, where did you start to pick up on these little changes that you could make to the diet that you had currently?
Well, this was the very early ages of this is the late '90s, early 2000s I'm talking about. So it was still a pretty young age for the internet,
Okay.
and obviously we didn't have smartphones, no apps or anything like that. But I was really into. I started getting the magazines. I was. It would be Men's Health. I remember I got a couple Flex magazines because I was like I said, I was really starting to get into kind of the bodybuilding aspect of it. I always knew that I wasn't going to be one of the skinnier guys. Like, all right, well, and then I started reading these tips on, well, if your waist isn't going to get any smaller, if you make your back a little bit bigger, it'll appear smaller and things like that. So
Okay.
it was trying to mold my body and things like that. And then they were talking about the idea of I remember looking at these charts and they were comparing calories of what one donut is the same amount of calories as I remember it being a chicken breast. They're like, but then it had the breakdowns, and I didn't know obviously nobody knew what macros were at the
Mm-hmm.
time. And I remember even there would be a little section in even like Maxim magazine. It seemed like it started popping up more and more about this time where there were like little tidbits to like better health, and so most of it, of course, being common sense. It was because I used to be the guy that would order 3 sandwiches at a fast food place. I could go to Taco Bell and literally order 8 tacos if I wanted to. It's just this enormous appetite. And to give you a little bit more is that almost everybody in my family was or is overweight, borderline obese at times. It's something that we've all had to keep in check. I know that that has something to do with it. Just some families are like that, and I was never one of those people that could get away with it. And seeing what it was at a very young age, and I had my older sister. She had joined the army, and I remember she was one that battled with some of the weight issues, and still continues to this day. And she would give these kind of tips, and I just started feeding it from anywhere. In class, in my bodybuilding class, they would give us what was considered the bodybuilder diet. It was the first time I'd ever heard try and eat a gram of protein for every pound of body
Yeah.
weight.
Yep. Yep.
It's just the most basic of the basic. But whenever it's like a foreign concept to you, I used to think, if I'm hungry, I'm going to eat, and it doesn't matter if I'm what I'm eating. And even looking at the way that I would eat salads back then, it was still mostly iceberg lettuce, a lot of cheese, and a lot of dressing, and probably not very good for me. But I was thinking, oh, it's a salad. Like, it's a salad. It's got to be great.
Right.
The only vegetables I would eat are like canned green beans. I was like, oh, I'm getting my vegetables in, and it's kind of funny how far we've come. And but being from Missouri, even whenever I go back now, some of the requests that I look, or it's so hard for me to get, because I'm not super strict unless I'm really working on something. I'm pretty flexible with what I am able to eat, and I could find something anywhere. And it was just one that back then things just weren't an option. So it was almost like this terrible just say no method. I remember this one guy said, let me show you a good workout. He goes, take this, put your hands down up against your kitchen table, then just push back. And that's a great, and it took me a minute. I was like, oh, just get up and walk away from the table. I was like, and I remember standing there with him, and I'm doing the movement like what, like a push up, like a diamond put, like what? I don't get it. And it's, oh yeah, just eat less is the calories in versus calories out. It's not quite that simple, but it is a good start to kind of realize that. And then of course the not eating late at night. That was another one that it's amazing. I just stopped eating, because we would do the late night, again, late night fast food runs, and I remember skipping breakfast and going, just eating the lunch, and then fast food, and then that was it. And
Now,
it,
I was going to say, like, just when you started that first time around, being that your family, kind of had this history already in place, I know that your friends were kind of, poking some fun at you, like, what do you mean you're not going to drink soda anymore? Like, that's just what we do. Like, we're kids, we drink Mountain Dew. But did you get any shit from your family too on the same side? Like, were they like, hey, Kevin, like, this is just how we are, like, this is what we do. This is how we eat. Like, did you almost get any blowback from your family when you were starting to make these changes?
It was a little bit from the family, not too bad from my immediate family. They've all been pretty well supportive of everything. It was more of like, say, extended family, or they don't understand. You show up to Christmas like, oh, stop it, just as they're literally taking the spoon and just spooning it onto your plate. Like, you're a growing boy, just eat it. It's good for you. I'm like, I don't know if it is. And my family's always been very, very supportive of everything, because I've went through phases with that of, joining the military post 9/11, of course, was a pretty pretty tough call that, I got a lot of heat from a lot of people. Like, my family was real for that. And then, of course, moving to LA, it's something they've all really supported me of. So that's been the easier part. It was kind of a little bit later on in life whenever I really got extreme with it, because I went through my it's got to be organic phase. I've eased up on that. But I did go through the phase. It's got to be organic. And I would show up to family meals and I would have my food in a Tupperware, because I know that whatever they're having, I cannot eat. And there's no quicker way to insult your grandma.
That's what I was
than
just
showing up to her house. It is the worst. It's like, all right, well, it's one of those things you almost got to say, okay, I'm just going to plan for this. Like, I have to build this into my cheat meal. And even now I do this. I still do it to this day. I will fake it. I will eat before I go so that I know that I'm properly fed. Because if I'm hungry, I'm going to eat it.
Yep.
So I will eat what I'm going to eat before, so that I know that I'm nourished and what I need. And then I will pretty much be like, oh, I'm just not really hungry. My stomach's been by. I know it's a lie. I know it's terrible. But to me, I'm almost too sweet whenever it comes to that. I'll be like, okay, just a little. And I will kind of pick at it and pretend like I'm really going at it. But I do. It's just the way that works for me without being insulting.
Well, and I was going to say, like, that's a tactic that you've picked up along the way, which is really, really important for people who are, starting a weight loss journey or in the middle of a weight loss journey or whatever the case may be. Like, telling a little white lie like, oh no, my stomach's been bothering me. I'm sorry, Grandma, I can't eat like the 7 pounds of mashed potatoes or whatever it was that you made, like you're saving yourself and you're saving Grandma in the long run. Like, you're not going to offend her and you're not going to insult her by, because they look at it as, oh, he doesn't want to eat my food. My food's not good enough. And that's not your intention at all. You have, bigger goals and other things that are going on. And it's just that those things aren't going to quite fit with your goals right now. So I think having, little tactics like that are really, really helpful for people who are going through a weight loss journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's going in prepared. It really is just preparing for the day ahead, whether it's going to work. Because I've had jobs where all the guys, we all go out and we get barbecue on Thursdays and Taco Tuesdays, and I just know that that's what you're in for. So it's preparing yourself ahead of time, or it's like I say, I find myself eating before and then indulging just a little bit, like just enough so I feel still a part of the group, because you don't want to not be invited at the same time. I don't want to be the person that's like, oh, we're not inviting him out for wing night because he won't eat it. And it's like, oh, I'll still come. I can still hang out. It was like I gave up drinking for a while, just for myself, just to give myself that cleanse. And people look at you like you're a leper or something. Like, why are you here? I was like, oh, I'm hanging out. Like, we're socializing. And it's like, oh, I could do both. I don't like, oh, I could never be around people who drink when I'm not drinking. Like, that would be annoying. I'm like, Oh yeah, I mean for me it's harder to be around everybody at a pizza place. Everybody's destroying pizza, and I have to sit there and eat my ridiculous Caesar salad while they're doing that. I would much rather be in a bar and not drinking. But that's we all have our strengths and weaknesses, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's being able to identify those strengths and those weaknesses, and so that, like you said, you can go in with a plan. Like if you know that you are very strong in a bar, and you can go to the bar and just go over and, or, order a glass of water or whatever it is, that's going to be a better situation for you to put yourself in, rather than going out with somebody to an Italian restaurant or whatever your kryptonite or your vice is.
Yeah, it's definitely easier to, certain things are definitely easier than the other. I always have a protein bar or something in my pocket whenever I go to the movie theater because I know that I'm going to want to snack on something. Movie theater, it comes with that. Hit the snack bar. But if honestly, if they served, if they had a bag of cashews or something at the snack bar, I would get that. But
Mm-hmm.
typically they don't, so I gotta bring it in my pocket.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's get into the military, because this knee injury kind of comes back to, I guess, haunt you, so to say, when you're in the military. So what happens there after you've kind of been in for a little while.
Yeah, I was in the military for a couple years whenever it happened. I was helping, we were doing an embark mission, and it's something that I can't place any certain thing that happened. I think it may have just been deterioration over time, and your body adjusts to things. But my sergeant, he said, "Hey, you're dragging your leg a little bit." I was like, "Oh," he was like, "Yeah, why don't you go ahead and go see the doc and just to make sure everything's okay." So I go to the doc and they take the x-rays and they look at it and they reveal that I have something called chondromalacia that's started to grow behind my kneecap. Now, whenever I only have about 60% of my kneecap left because whenever I initially shattered it, they took the pretty much parts of it become dust and they take the rest of it and wire it together in hopes that the knee will eventually regenerate. And in some cases, it could grow a little funny. So the way that mine grew is it grew cartilage and calcium deposits behind my kneecap. So whenever you have your ligaments that run up and down your kneecap, pretty much it's what holds your kneecap in place. So mine is pretty much rounded off. So instead of like a little thing going down the tracks, it's like a big boulder just sitting on top of the tracks. So whenever if I turn my body without turning my feet, my knee could just pop right out of place. And whenever you're doing a lot of things, whenever you're carrying a lot of things, your body's torqued in a certain ways. And it's just goofy stuff like that. It's not walking straight. It's not running straight. Like I say, I could lift weights just fine. I could, it's the lateral movements that just really do it to me. And they put me in, saw me another doc, second opinion, third opinion, fourth opinion, fifth opinion. I ended up on my sixth opinion because what they do is they say, all right, bring it back, come back in a month. That's all it is. Come back in a month. There's no checkup the next week. There's not even any physical therapy at this point. It's just, all right, come back in a month, come back in a month. And every time you go back, you see a different doctor because you're not, that's one of the issues with the military doctors is that it's whoever's there. So every time I'm seeing somebody different, every single doctor's telling me something else is wrong with my knee. Now, whether or not you could stick them all in the same room and they could look at the x-rays and examine me, I'm sure that they could have all came to a conclusion. But whenever I'm seeing a different doctor every time, they're all telling me something different. And one person saying, "Oh, you got tendonitis. Oh, you got this. You got that. You don't have any cartilage anymore. It's just this little black fibrous stuff that's just falling apart. There's nothing we could do to you." One doctor recommended I get a plastic kneecap. And then I said, "All right, well, what does that mean?" He says, "Well, it means you'll never have the strength in your knee again because it's a foreign object. Your body never completely takes to it." And I said, "All right, well, what do I do then?" He said, "Then that'll also probably have to be replaced every however many years. I don't know. With the way medical science is, it's 10, 20, 30 years. I don't know." And so, well, what's the alternative? He said, "Well, you can continue to work out and continue to do what you're doing, and hopefully it'll be better." So they ended up discharging me, said I was no longer fit for duty. The last doctor that I saw, he looked at my X-rays and he said, "How bad is your limp?" So I don't think I have a limp. And he looks and he examines me, and he sees I have good strong quads. The tie-in is really well. It's actually the working out that is saving my leg. He said if I were to stop working out, I would be dragging my leg behind me. It'd probably be a full-blown knee replacement. My ligaments aren't in the right spots. There's a grinding. If I just hold my leg up and bend it, it sounds like you're just, I don't know, squeezing a tin can or something like that. So it's still not right, but it's the working out. He said that if ever there was an incentive to stay in shape and continue to work out, it's to know that I am prolonging what may end up being the inevitable, but it may not. And so I keep everything around it strong and healthy. And I still have my bad days with it, but that was the point where they told me I was no longer fit for duty. And at this point, I was up to about 205 at this point. Like I said, they run heavy in the military. And once I went home and I was no longer doing the PT, and it's kind of what I touched on earlier, like all of a sudden you're not going to gym class anymore and the weight just starts. Now you don't have somebody telling you to work out, because I was in my early 20s. I was 22, I guess. And now I'm not doing that. Still eating the same and drinking a lot of beer, and the weight just as fast as I knew it just came right back on. And I was right back up over 220, tipping almost 230 again. And it was frustrating. It was, and then the more weight that I put on, the worse my knee would feel.
Yeah.
It got to the point to where I did almost start to drag my leg. It did get to the point to where I'd be the guy that's going up the stairs, and sometimes I have to put my hand down on my leg and actually lift, to help boost my body up the stairs. And I was 22, 23 years old. And oh no, this is what I am now. And it's the scariest, just worst thing to think, that I'm a young man. I wanted to be an athlete, and I played all the sports, and I'm a Marine, and like I can't even walk upstairs now without help, and my knees making noise. And it really was. It was a tough pill to swallow at that age.
Now, what do you think was different when you got discharged from the military before you went into the military? Because before you went into the military, you were working out and you didn't have anybody who was telling you to work out. So what was different after you got back? Like, do you think that the news of being, deemed not medically fit for duty, hit you maybe harder than you realized?
Absolutely. And it was, whenever you start, there's so many other things that are related to weight loss and weight gain. We are all different. I think that part of it, to be all of a sudden now I'm back in my hometown, and I have to, I had a little bit of trouble finding work right away. So now I'm stressing out on working. I lost my mother somewhere along the way too. And it was now I'm like, now my family's kind of broken up, and it's just, you start to lose your ambition, and it's tough. I was almost getting comfortable with who I was. I had a spouse at the time, and she was totally cool, and I was happy. I was like, and now my buddies didn't get together and play sports anymore. We were all too old for that. And I had turned 21, so now I could go out and drink. And I think I was replacing all the sports time. Me and my buddies, when we used to be playing sports, now we're in bars drinking beer, watching sports. That's how we kind of traded in our sports time. And it's just, it's a really slippery slope. It's so easy not to work out at all, not to have any ambition to do that. And then it's if you're not chasing something, I think that it's just that there's no need for that. And one day it was me and my ex-spouse, we just decided, we're like, we're like, we really want to make some changes. And she was the one that really pushed there to do, to start doing the healthier eating. And then cause I was always into lifting weights. The healthy eating still wasn't my thing. I would still overeat. I could eat healthier, but I would eat in such large volume that I was like, oh, I'll go lift weights. I wasn't really doing cardio. It's like, I would just lift weights. And what the guys who eat all day and lift weights look like. It's no knock on them, but it's a different body type. It's not, it's very different. And I was fine. I was like, I'm a big boy. I'm a big, and I just remember saying like, my dad's over 300 pounds. Like, at least I'm only 220. At least I don't look like that. Because it's real easy to look around at other people and say, well, at least I don't look like that. And it's like, well, I'm the norm. Everybody that's around me looks like that. Because again, growing up from Missouri, like, no knock on anybody that I grew up with, family or friends. I love them all for who they are, but there is something that comes with that. And it was just going through kind of this sadness, and being told you're no longer fit for duty. And it's just, there's no ambition. There's no reason to do it. And it made it real easy to just drink way too much beer and just eat however I want. Because now not only do I not have the gym teacher or, the sergeant telling me to do it. Because in the military, at least we get weighed in. You're not allowed to be overweight. So you get weighed in. That's why so many guys, whenever they get out of the military, there's so many guys that go through, whether it be depression or PTSD, or they gain a bunch of weight. You see so many of the guys, all of a sudden they have beards because there's nobody telling them that they have to shave. It's just such a common thing to go the opposite way against the system. And I think that's just where I fell into. It was just, I don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. anymore. I don't have to make weight. I don't have to, because we did our physical fitness tests. We would do that. Annually. And without that, it's amazing that now it's just on you. And then that's one of the hardest things that I find with not so much myself, because for me, I just genuinely enjoy it now, but with people that I meet that they're like, oh, how do I get in shape? And you try to boil it down. You're like, just make time for this or make good choices. And there's people that just can't comprehend it. It's like, I know I train people for a little bit, and I would say, all right. And then on Saturday, like for me, Saturday or my day off, I'm like, sweet, I got all day. I could go work out. I could go take like a 3-hour hike if I wanted to. And they're like, oh no, Saturday is my time off. I don't work out on the weekends. And I'm like, well, that makes it tough, because you also don't work out during the week, because if you have kids, you're rushing home from work for dinner and the kids, and then when do you work out? Yeah. So it's wherever the priorities are, really.
And it's almost like, instead of building these good habits from when you were in the military and really ingraining them, you were almost looking forward to a time where you didn't have to do it anymore. So instead of, building this good habit of getting up early and getting a run in or getting your workout in, because I'm sure that's what you do in the military, you almost looked at it as like, I don't have to do that anymore. And this is great that I don't have to do it, instead of making it a good habit.
Absolutely. Plus, it's almost like the prison rules, or the being institutionalized. Whatever it is, they wake you up at this time. They tell you what to wear. They feed you your meal. All you do is pick up a tray and walk down the assembly line, and somebody plops the food on your tray for you. And they give you they're not always the best meals, but they're well balanced diets. So, it's all the typical. You get your protein, your carb, your vegetable, and your dessert, and you walk right down the line. All of a sudden, it's up to you. You could order whatever you want. You could eat whenever you want. It really is. It's a tough thing, and some people just can't seem to cope with it. So for myself included, I think it definitely took a transition of a couple of years there before I really started to get it. It's almost like becoming an adult. It's kind of the funny thing whenever people are like, oh, they're 19, they're in college. Oh, I'm an adult. Or I'm 22. I just graduated college. I'm an adult. It's like, you've never grocery shopped before. Like, you've never had to do any of these things. Like, I'm not saying that you're not as mature and the book smart, but there's the street smart, and there's just the common knowledge that comes with age, that it's like, whenever it's bad. Like, and it's funny because as adults we'll all do it. We're like, oh, okay, I'll do it. I'll have this cookie. I'm gonna pay for it later. Or they all say, oh, I shouldn't.
Yeah.
But okay. It's
Yeah.
it's very easy to do that.
So what do you think was different about this kind of final time that you started with your, then wife versus some of the times in the past where you started?
I think this time it was something that I knew was manageable. It was something that I just knew that I was going to implement into my daily life. It was finding the things that I enjoy about it, because even though I guess I love pizza, but I started making like my own chicken barbecue pizzas at home. That, I started looking up all these crazy recipes, and that's one of the beautiful things about the internet and about, back then I would still buy the magazine. I would buy Runner's World magazine, and they would always give these amazing recipes for, a fraction of the calories. And I started realizing I could have these delicious things. I mean, I eat burgers nowadays almost every day, but I eat turkey burgers. I ate it on Ezekiel bread. I put avocado on it, and I think it's amazing. I think that, if you were to feed me a McDonald's, Jumbo Jet or Big Mac, I would prefer my burger that I make at home. So it really just became into coping what I enjoy and figuring out ways of doing what I do and making it part of me. And with having somebody there to do it with is amazing, because we're not married anymore, but she still sends me recipes, because she was always more the cooking one. I was always more the workout one. And we were this amazing duo with the balance that she'll still send me recipes. I'll still send her workouts. And it's kind of funny how that works, that you have to have somebody, some sort of support system. And in it, it's the same thing. You're in your house. You're the one who's buying the groceries. It's like, somebody made fun of me not too long ago because I told them, I was like, had a little bit too much to drink last night. I was in my own house, so it's like whenever I'm in my house, I will have that extra one because I know I don't have to go anywhere. And I said, I had a little too much to drink last night, and I was like, I woke up and I made a smoothie. And I spilled it all over the place. And I was like, yep, had smoothie all over my counter. Like, yeah, I'm an idiot. And he's like, wow, the average person, whenever they're drunk, they will make a pizza. You're the only guy that I know makes a smoothie. I said, dude, I haven't had a pizza in my freezer in 9 years. Like, I just don't have it.
Yeah.
If I do go, I'm not saying I haven't eaten pizza, but it's the temptation isn't there for me.
You don't keep it around.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it's coming from the family that I did. There was no alternative. That is what we had. It was either you make yourself a Hot Pocket or you don't eat. It's like, okay, well, what do we have? We have Chef Boyardee, and we have, these McRib sandwiches. Okay. And that's what it is. Nowadays, it's just, don't carry it around. Don't keep it around. And it's just having that so much more control. It's a lot much easier to have self-control whenever it's not there. Because whenever I do have it, I can't stop eating it. Like, I rarely buy cereal, even though I love cereal, because I know that I have no willpower whenever it comes to it. I can't pour that 2/3 of a cup or whatever ridiculous they say a serving is. Yeah. Like, that's not going to happen. I'm going to refill while I'm watching TV. And next thing you know, the box is gone. And so it's I know that I don't keep it in the house all the time.
Now, was there a transition in like your food tastes? Because I know that like when you initially started, I would bet you that you would take the Big Mac over the turkey burger, whereas now you would take the turkey burger over the Big Mac. So do you remember like that transitioning happen? And I know for a fact that if it did happen, it wasn't overnight, but when did you start to see that kind of change?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't overnight. It was in my mid to later 20s. Like I said, growing up in the family of 5, if we all went out to eat, we would go out to eat at just the most generic chain restaurants, because that's the only place you're going to go that everybody will agree on. You're never going to any ethnic restaurants. You're never doing anything like that. So whenever it was just me and my ex, we're like, wow, we could go wherever we want. I started getting into, and she loved cooking. I never liked onions in my life. It was onions, ew, peppers, gross. Like, for the most part, vegetables. I remember for the longest time, I wouldn't put any of that on my plate. I'm like, Brussels sprouts, like, ew, I don't want that. And I remember I don't even remember, I may not even have tried a Brussels sprout until I was 32 years old. And I just remember being like, no, I don't like it, because that was my default. I don't like it. I just, no. And then in my mid 20s, it really was. It started experimenting with flavors. So that's what's funny. Like, yeah, you could smother something in sauce. We used to put ranch dressing on everything. It's like you put cheese and ranch dressing on anything, it's going to be good. You could deep fry anything. Deep fry a boot and put some cheese and dip it in ranch dressing, and it'll be delicious. And it's not until I started like, oh, like I could sprinkle cumin on that. I want a little bit of a zing. Just I'll put a little bit of paprika on it, and it's just amazing how much it changed my palate. And I know what they say. Your taste buds change over however many years. You just have to be willing and susceptible to try something new. And it's with that, it's like, yeah, try and eat a pack of Nerds or some Fun Dip right now. Go ahead and try a Pixie Stick. I bet your face will suck your face in, because it's so tart. But kids, that's what they eat. And it was just kind of being open to that. I was always pretty open to trying new things, and going through my 20s, that's when I was like, oh, maybe I should try this. And then I've gone, I'll go to vegan restaurants. I'm nowhere near being a vegan. I eat two pounds of meat a day on average, and about a half a dozen eggs. But I will try anything vegan almost any time. Especially in LA, it's an amazing thing about LA is they have a plethora of options. That it's just being open-minded. I mean, I have friends that are pushing 40 years old, and you can't get them to eat anything different than a cheeseburger or some wings. They're still right there. I was like, yep, that's how I was when I was 22, but, not say anything bad about them, but, it's, I think part of it's just not being willing to budge on that.
And so being out in LA, I'm sure you've tried the Impossible Burger then, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's
Dude,
wonderful.
Those things are insane. I tried one for the first time at just like a regular restaurant. I happened to glance down, and I wanted to get a burger. And, I can definitely go out and have a burger, but sometimes after I have a burger, I think it's the grease, or I don't know what it is, but I don't feel good after having like a giant burger most times. And like, I know it's going to happen, but specifically after a race like that, that's usually a go-to is a burger and fries. But this particular Saturday night, I glanced down at the menu and I'm like, wow, they have this Impossible Burger. And they're saying that it's made out of plants. And I remember I saw something about it online. I was like, all right, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try it. Like, let's just see how this thing tastes. You cannot tell the difference. There might be a slight difference in flavor, but the texture is exactly the same. And if you put condiments on there, like if you put ketchup, and I've gone on and had it with like vegan cheese and then vegan mayo, and like I've gone full blown Impossible Burger vegan style, and it's crazy. You cannot tell the difference whatsoever.
Yeah, it really is. I had that first time. I actually had I don't know if he was one of the creators, but he was one of the reps. And because I go to all the Fit Expos and all that, and just the very first time, I was like, oh, sure. Because I had done so many of the black bean burgers. I had tried so many different kinds, like pretty much every kind. I was like, well, I'm willing to try it. And just always, always, always disappointed. But they're onto something with that. Yeah, it's mostly pea protein. And it's amazing to think that it's, coming from peas. It's unreal. It really is. Yeah, very, very, very high-end stuff right there.
Yeah, it is. I know. Unfortunately, it has kind of a high-end price tag, which I'm sure you're used to that out in LA. But for us over here, the cost of an Impossible Burger, unfortunately, is a little bit steeper than your traditional beef burger. So,
right. Absolutely. Yeah, same here, because they have them in the stores here. And it's even for those, it's more expensive than the turkey, but you're only getting half the portions if you buy it in the store. They sell it in like the half pounder sections, like 2 quarter-pound patties. So whenever you look at it, you think, the same, because whenever you get the turkey burger, you get 4 quarter-pounders. So it's definitely over twice the price still.
Oh wow, so you guys can actually buy them out there like in your grocery store?
Yeah, they have them out here in the Ralphs, which is also Kroger. I forget, Publix, I think, is their other one. So yeah, they actually carry them in some of the grocery stores.
Oh, see, you can't get the only way you can get them over here on the East Coast as of right now is if you get it from a restaurant. That's it. They don't have them available in any retailers, at least to the best of my knowledge. And
Yeah, I don't think that they do. Yeah.
I've tried to go on their website and like see if they have like a store locator or anything, because I'm really surprised that they're not offering them in Whole Foods yet. Like really surprised, but I don't know. Maybe it's coming. Who knows?
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I don't know if it's a distribution thing. I don't know if it's a manufacturing, like they're just not quite there to be nationwide yet. But I would assume, at least in the bigger cities, obviously it's beneficial to be in the bigger cities because we do tend to get everything first.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's definitely.
Yeah, now that you say that, you're making me hungry for an Impossible Burger.
I know, and the only place that has them that's around me closes in 10 minutes, so I don't think I'm gonna get one.
Nah, too bad.
Yeah, so it's all good. I actually just had one yesterday, so I'm good on my Impossible Burger fix.
Oh, nice.
For a little while at least. So
nice.
Well, do me a favor and give me your social media stuff and let me know where people can get connected with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything is pretty much Kevin Calibber on Facebook and Instagram. My Twitter is Kevin Calibber LA. And yeah, I got the website Kevin Calibber as well. And just, trying to do as much as I can while balancing the whole acting world as well as that. It's a tough little grind to be in, but honestly, one of the things that keeps me sane is my gym time. And another little tactic that I've had to use is I always tell people that I'm either have to go to work an hour and a half before I actually have to be there, or I tell them that I'm getting off an hour and a half after I actually get off to build in my gym time, because I consider it part of my job. Because if you prioritize that, it's just something that's become a default of mine that is really, really beneficial to do it. Otherwise, it's like, what time are you off? 5? Oh, okay, me is there 5:30. Oh, dang, I wanted to go to the gym. Man, I can't change it now. So it's an interesting little thing of trying to do that, and like I say, just prioritizing.
That's a really interesting tactic. I don't think I have ever heard anyone build that in. Like I've heard, obviously, a ton of people who just say that they put workout time in their schedule and that's a non-negotiable. But, sometimes if people are like, hey, let's meet up after work, you're kind of more likely to say like, oh, okay, yeah, let's do that, instead of going and getting your workout in. But if you say like, oh, no, I'm working until 5:30, they're going to say, oh, okay, that's perfect. Let's meet at 6. And it still gives you plenty of time to go to the gym.
Absolutely. It was something that I eventually had to come clean to my current girlfriend about. Because
yeah, I can see how that might be a problem.
It's just like, I was like, hey, I got to be honest with you. I have told you white lies. She's like, well, just tell me. I'm like, okay. And then I still kind of find myself. She's like, well, hey, can't I? I'm like, no. I'm like, look, I got a real long day at work. If I don't go do this right now, because there was another thing with my ex, she would pull the deal where she'd be like, don't go work out until I get off work, or wait for me to work out. I'd be like, okay, I get off at 3. She would get off at 5, and I'd be sitting home. She gets home at 5:30, and I'm like, got my gym clothes. I'm like, the gym bag. I'm like, all right, let's go. She's like, nah, I don't really feel like it now. Let's just watch a movie. I'm like, damn it. Like, I could have already went. Like, I should have gone at 3, and I would have been back. I would have, and it's funny how that kind of starting to be selfish sometimes is a good thing. It's like, I have to be selfish in this moment. I have to do what's best for me and just get it in. At the same time, I also will not be silly with it, because I've done that. It's like, oh man, I got to be at work at 8, and then I know it's going to be a long day. Well, if I end up getting up at 5:30, then I could go get it in the morning. I'm like, wait, what am I saying? Like, I have to go straight from work to this to that, and I'm going to be out till midnight. I was like, should I really be getting up at 5:30? Like, let me just not.
Yeah.
At the same time, you could really run yourself into the ground doing the same thing.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Well, Kevin, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate some of these little, nuggets that you shared, especially just the one you shared right there with scheduling out your workout time and everything. That kind of stuff is it's stuff that resonates with the listeners of this show. So I know I appreciate it, and they will appreciate it as well.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, and I was happy to share it all.
Yeah, cool. All right, man. Thank you. There you have it. And there it is. My conversation with Kevin Calibber. And as I said, I really enjoyed this conversation that I got to sit down and have with Kevin. And I really enjoyed listening to his story and what it was like for him to go through some of these injuries and this accident that he had that was preventing him from chasing at least his initial dream that he had in order to be in the military. So I want to thank Kevin so much for coming on, spending some time with me and really sharing his story. Like I said, I really enjoyed the conversation, and I want to thank you, the listeners, for coming back here and hanging out with us and listening to Kevin's story about how he is doing it for himself. If you are digging what we are up to here on the Do It For Yourself podcast, and you would like to help us, you would like to support us, there's a few ways that you can do that. First and foremost, please leave a review on the Apple Podcast app. So if you could just take 2 minutes, write a quick little review and leave a star rating, that would be very, very beneficial for us. The next way would be to just share the show with a friend. Share it with someone who you think is going to vibe with what we have going on here at the Do It For Yourself podcast. And last but not least, if you would like to make a financial contribution, you can always join the Patreon page and the Patreon group. That is patreon.com/Do It For Yourself. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, joining me, and hanging out. I really look forward to sitting down and spending some time with you again next week.